At 9:12 in the morning on what started as a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, a white community services gas truck entered my stone tunnel like a cork heading for a wine bottle, then kathunk, wedged so perfectly that even geometry would have blushed. Emergency alarms started whining, fuel dribbled onto the cobblestones, and the driver just sat there frozen, staring at the bright yellow clearance 7 feet 10 inches sign now screaming "I told you so." Felicity Crowell, our HOA president, shouted that it would squeeze through if he gave it more gas, as if physics was something she could negotiate with. I'm Ezra Kincaid, a quiet structural engineer who likes precise joinery, black coffee, and minding my own business here in Brookstone Bluffs. I've lived here for 8 years, chosen specifically for this property because of that tunnel. My driveway passes through a 120-year-old stone carriage tunnel under an old landscaping berm. When I bought the house, the inspector and I spent an hour marveling at the craftsmanship. The tunnel is beautiful with hand-laid stonework done by Italian masons in 1905, each block fitted so perfectly you can barely slide a credit card between the joints. It's narrow, it's historic, it's on the county preservation registry, and it is absolutely, mathematically 7 feet 10 inches tall at its highest point in the center of the arch. I didn't guess at this. I surveyed it professionally with calibrated laser equipment the week I moved in, because that's what engineers do. We measure things. I posted clearance signs at both entrances in reflective yellow visible from 50 feet away, the kind that meets DOT standards with bold black lettering. I emailed the board multiple times with exact specifications, starting from month 2 of living here when the first delivery truck almost didn't make it. I even gave our HOA president Felicity, with her year-round permitin from a spray booth, ever-present pearl necklace she wore like armor, and clipboard she wielded like a weapon of bureaucratic destruction, a detailed PDF with engineering diagrams, measurements taken from 6 different points, and photographs showing the exact clearance from multiple angles with a measuring tape visible in each shot. Her response? She told me the sign hurt curb appeal. A safety sign designed to prevent exactly what was happening right now hurt the aesthetic. She said it made the neighborhood look industrial. The letters began arriving in my mailbox, each more absurd than the last. Non-conforming historic feature, claiming the tunnel violated some aesthetic code written in 1998. Unauthorized industrial signage, as if a safety warning was the same as advertising a car wash. And my personal favorite, bridge hostility, which suggested my tunnel was being deliberately difficult. I'm not making this up. She actually wrote that the tunnel created a hostile environment for community vendors. Felicity declared the tunnel a service corridor in an official memo she sent to every homeowner, complete with a hand-drawn map highlighting my driveway in red. She demanded I keep the gate unlocked at all times for vendor efficiency, as she called it, using that corporate speak she loved from her previous career in office management. She started a whole campaign. At the monthly board meetings, she would bring it up during new business. The tunnel access issue, she called it. There was no issue except the one she was creating. She giggled at the annual meeting, the big one where 50 people showed up, when she referred to me as the troll under the bridge who was making life difficult for everyone. Her voice was sugary sweet, but her eyes were cold. And everyone laughed because nobody wanted to be on Felicity's bad side. She had a reputation for making life miserable for anyone who crossed her. Parking violations appeared. Landscaping citations arrived. Your mailbox is 0.3 inches too far forward. Your house numbers aren't the approved font. Then she announced her master plan. She scheduled generator fuel polishing for the clubhouse, a service that apparently needed to happen annually though nobody had ever heard of it before. And she decided the contractor should use my tunnel to avoid paying the front gate vendor access fee of $50. The association paid a vendor service that charged $50 per entry to coordinate deliveries and service appointments. $50. That's what this entire confrontation was truly about. She wanted to save $50 and prove that I didn't control access to my own property. The vendor responsibly asked for clearance specifications. Felicity forwarded my diagram and wrote that I was exaggerating. The night before service, I sent one final warning with a photo of a broom handle touching the arch at 7 feet 11 inches. No ambiguity. She replied within 10 minutes, duly noted with a smiley face emoji. That smiley face would haunt her. The morning of the appointment, Felicity positioned herself at my driveway entrance like a general commanding troops, wearing a bright orange safety vest that still had the package crease lines running down the back. She'd clearly ordered it off the internet the night before, probably the cheapest one she could find. She was waving the gas truck forward with these elaborate hand signals like she was landing a 747 at an international airport. Big sweeping motions with both arms. The driver, a guy in his 40s with a company uniform and probably 20 years of safe driving, hesitated. His face through the windshield showed clear discomfort, the kind of expression that says I know this is wrong but I'm being told to do it anyway. He leaned out his window and said something to Felicity I couldn't hear from my porch. She marched right up to his window, clipboard in hand like it gave her authority, and said with absolute confidence that they did this all the time, that this was standard procedure, that she had personally overseen dozens of similar operations. They absolutely did not do this all the time. This was the first and only time anyone had been foolish enough to try driving a commercial vehicle through a 7-foot 10-inch tunnel. The driver looked at the tunnel entrance, looked at the height of his truck, looked back at Felicity standing there in her internet safety vest with her clipboard, and made what would become the single worst decision of his professional career. The truck nosed forward into the tunnel entrance, diesel engine rumbling. For about 3 feet everything seemed fine and Felicity was already smiling triumphantly, probably planning how she'd describe this victory at the next board meeting. Then physics remembered it existed. The roof of the truck kissed the curved stone ceiling with a grinding screech that made my teeth hurt and echoed through the tunnel like nails on a chalkboard. The vehicle stopped moving forward like it had hit an invisible wall. It stuck there, wedged hard enough to shear a fuel line clean through. You could hear the metal tearing, this awful ripping sound followed by a hiss of escaping pressure. A silver thread of gasoline began flowing down the side of the bright white truck, catching the morning sunlight and making a little stream onto my 100-year-old cobblestones. The fuel ran fast, heading straight for the storm drain 30 feet away that led directly to Brookstone Creek, which fed into the county water supply downstream. "Nobody call anyone," Felicity announced, voice panicked despite trying to sound authoritative. She deployed orange cones and pulled out paper towels, dabbing at the growing gasoline puddle with paper towels. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911, then the State Environmental Emergency Spill Hotline. Felicity spun around, jabbed a finger at me, face red with rage. She said with venom I would be fined for interfering with official HOA operations. I calmly pointed at the security camera under my eave, red light blinking, recording everything in high definition with audio. Engine 4 arrived first with Hazmat right behind, then sheriff's deputies, then a COMDOT inspector who had seen everything twice. The street filled with emergency vehicles within 15 minutes. Foam blankets came out, containment booms across drains. The fire captain asked in a tone that made everyone freeze who had directed a hazmat vehicle into a marked sub-clearance tunnel without authorization. I produced my emails, printed and organized in a 3-ring binder with colored tabs marking each warning. The captain flipped through, expression darkening with each page. The DOT inspector measured the arch with his laser device, measured my sign confirming its accuracy, then examined Felicity's Community Operations Chief badge, which wasn't a real title. He held it to the light like checking for counterfeiting. The environmental officer traced the gasoline sheen with detection equipment that clicked finding hydrocarbons. He radioed for creek containment downstream. Insurance counsel arrived in 30 minutes, a man in an expensive suit who looked like a storm cloud. He said the words that terrify HOA boards, criminal acts void coverage, repeating it twice. The translation was brutal. Personal liability. Felicity's name specifically. While airbags and a winch team extracted the world's worst ship in a bottle, deputies took Felicity aside. She tried explaining she was authorized under HOA statute, Article 4, Section 7, Subsection B. She'd memorized it like a magic spell. The deputy, with 20 years of patience worn down, replied flatly, "Ma'am, that's not a thing. HOA rules don't override state law or common sense." He pulled out his citation book and started writing. Criminal trespass on private property. Obstruction of emergency operations. Providing false information to officials. The DOT inspector added civil penalties for routing hazmat without clearance verification. The environmental officer stacked fines for the spill calculated by gallons released, plus penalties for instructing volunteers to absorb gasoline with paper towels, violating 7 state and federal regulations. News crews filmed everything. The truck popped free after 45 minutes. Neighbors applauded. My tunnel shed ancient dust like a cathedral sighing with relief. Felicity got probation for 18 months with mandatory monthly check-ins at the probation office. Environmental fines alone came to $23,000 for the fuel spill and creek contamination. DOT fines added another $12,000 for the illegal hazmat routing. County emergency response costs, $8,000. Obstruction of emergency services charges carried $4,000 more. She also had to complete 60 hours of mandatory hazmat awareness training that would consume her Saturdays for 6 months, sitting in a classroom learning about the regulations she'd ignored. And the crown jewel of consequences, a 3-year ban from serving on any HOA board anywhere in the entire county. The judge had been very specific about that. No board positions, no committee chairmanships, no advisory roles. The HOA paid, privately and very painfully, $90,000 for complete creek remediation that required specialists in protective suits working for 2 months. They paid another $15,000 for full restoration of my stone arch where the truck had scraped and damaged the historic stonework. Every single homeowner in Brookstone Bluffs got a special assessment notice in the mail explaining exactly why their quarterly dues were going up by $200. I added an LED clearance bar flashing nope in red at 7 feet 10 1/4 inches. Neighbors wave at it like a celebrity. I framed Felicity's duly noted smiley face email. When the judge read the final total, $47,000 plus probation, training, and board ban, Felicity went completely pale. She gripped the table, knuckles white, swaying. Her lawyer steadied her arm. The 3-year ban meant no meetings, no committees, no emails to homeowners, no community Facebook posts. The bailiff held out his hand. She unclipped her community operations chief badge from her neck and surrendered it like turning in her weapon. Reporters shouted questions as she left. Any statement? Regrets? Apology? She said nothing, walking faster to the parking lot, lawyer rushing behind, briefcase banging his leg. She got into her white SUV and sat with hands on the steering wheel for 2 full minutes before starting the engine. 3 people recorded her driving away. The video hit the neighborhood group chat within the hour.